Hello, Laura. I'm back with another response video for you. So I think I should start off by letting you know that I took some notes. See that chicken scratch on my handwriting. I took notes because there was a 12-minute video that you left me that was anecdotal and responded to me and asked questions and made references to other things. There's lines that I am putting all over here, tracing back and forth what you have said and the questions I have for you. So I guess I'll start off with my first point for you is that all things considered, to be perfectly honest with you, just a direct response to you, I think I'm a pretty good driver. To all things considered, I've been there. I'm battle hardened. I've been into the shit, and I've come out, completely fine. I feel like I know what to do in a crisis situation that would make me an asset. That's just my opinion. That's fine if you don't want to ride in a car with me, though. I understand. And I love that Destroyer and Animal Collective's Banshee Beat and everything that was playing in the background, and that was pretty awesome. Nice touch. And also, what's wrong with your back? You said your back is already pretty messed up, but what's wrong with it? Do you have problems? I don't know. Is that too much for YouTube? I don't know. And yes, also, I really do agree with you about families. It's pretty much having children is just trying to create a steady supply of cheap labor. And, you are a victim, I've been a victim. I actually have a funny story. I grew up on this small house, but it had a lot of land around it. There were 3 acres, so we had a riding mower. Super cool. I'm sure you've seen them, and if you don't have one, I'm sure you're jealous. And if you do have one, then you know exactly how amazing it is. But anyway, a riding mower is tons of fun, and from an early age, I was mowing the lawn because my parents didn't care. But one time, my brother, I don't remember the circumstances at work, but he was laying down behind the mower, protesting. I don't know why, but he was not happy. Anyway, I backed over his leg that was sitting out for some reason, stretched, and it was fine. He was screaming, but it was no big deal. Now that I think about it, really any four-wheeled vehicle you put me on, something bad is bound to happen. I mean, I wasn't doing it on purpose. I thought he'd moved. I was there's no way his leg is still behind the wheel. But that's not a very flattering story to tell about me. I was 12. I don't really remember what was going through my head. I'm sorry, Alex, if you're watching this. Anyway, it's funny you were talking about what bothers you when you're driving, because how you have to control certain things. I mean, whenever I used to have this car that had a temperature gauge that was numerical and not analog or anything, so you could set it to 73 degrees, and I always had to have it on 75 or 70. It had to be a number had to end in a 0 or a 5, which was evens for me. If it was not set, if it was 74, I'd twist it to 75 because I'm weird. But it reminded me your story. You said that you'd never been pulled over, which was it's just delightful that you should be saying this to me, because every bad thing that's ever could happen to somebody has happened to me. So I should tell you about when I was pulled over and arrested. Well, I wasn't arrested when I was pulled over, but it's a complicated thing. This is several years in the making, what happened. I was pulled over one night and got a ticket. I don't remember what it was. It was a speeding ticket, or maybe I ran through a red light. I don't know. It's happened to me a lot. I'll be honest. I've been pulled over 5 or 8 times. And anyway, this one time I get the ticket, and I was in a hurry. I was coming back from school, and that's another thing, actually. Speaking of driving a lot, I drive a ton. I love driving. In fact, the last 2 years of school I went to, I commuted 90 minutes each way, and it would be I'd spend 8 to 9 hours in a car a week. And once again, I guess bad things happen to you eventually when you put yourself in that position for such an extended period. But Oh, I love driving. And this happened when I was coming home from school. Like, I got a ticket, and I just forgot about it. I didn't pay it because it was like, just wait for the, I should put this pen down, like I'm playing with it too much. You should put the, you should get the letter in the mail and go to court, because that's the way you always do it for these things. So I waited, and I moved. I moved like a month later. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'd forgotten that I was going to move. And I moved like 3 or 4 times in the space of 2 years, and I never got that letter. So it basically, like, I ducked it. And then there was a court date scheduled, obviously, and then I missed that, so they issued a bench warrant for my arrest, and I found out about that somehow. They found my address for that letter. I open it up, and it's like, there's a bench warrant for you, and, you know, there's no getting around that. You know, that just basically means the next time a cop sees you, he's going to arrest you. So, I mean, they weren't coming after me, thankfully. So I was living in Baltimore City at the time, and I said, like, hey, Dad, should you drive me down to the city and drive me down to the county and drop me off there, because maybe that would be a better place to go see the police commissioner than Baltimore City. And that's what we did. And I was like the only one there, but we go in, and I show this letter to the woman. I'm like, it says this is saying there's a bench warrant for me. She like looks at it, and she looks at me, and she says, "Can I see your ID, sir?" So I give her my ID, and you know, she was, I guess she had a guttural kind of beefy voice. That's my impression of it now. But then she looks at me, and then like she signals to, like, she points to somebody in the back, like it's a movie. I don't know. And then this guy comes out from behind me, and he comes up to me. He comes out of this door behind me, and he says, "Do you want me to handcuff you here in front of your dad, or should I take you out back?" And I was, you know, I thought, well, what a courteous thing to say. So I said, "Out back, please." And he takes me out back, and he puts the bracelets on me. 'Cause I can say that now that I've had them on me. Because, yeah. But anyway, he throws me in the back of this car, and we're driving along, and my dad is sort of, like, he took my phone and my wallet and stuff, thankfully, so I'd be helpless when I got out. But he was basically, he had no idea where I was going to be or how long it was going to take. He just knew I was going to a lockup somewhere. So this guy, this police officer, is taking me, and he's like texting people on his like little computer. You know, of course, you've never been pulled over. You certainly haven't been in the back of a police car. But anyway, they have these computers in the center console. It's like a laptop that they enter, like, and access the police network and database through. So that's like how they run tags and run your driver's license and everything. And this guy was like texting his other officers that I assume were on duty, just sending them bullshit messages. I don't know what was the deal, but he was doing this while listening to music and driving like 85 miles an hour, because I guess I didn't even think about it, but, you know, if I was a cop, I guess I'd drive 90 miles an hour everywhere. But anyway, we get to the station, and they have like rookies on duty, like doing the fingerprinting thing, and first thing they do is transfer me from the handcuffs to ankle bracelets. And ankle bracelets, which I'd never imagined how inconvenient they were to walk in, but they are horrible. And so I'm just like straddling, you know, this chain, trying to figure out how to get from across the room without looking like a complete ass. And you know, they're rolling my fingers like 50 times, and they take my picture, and they have this horrible looking old school like printer copier combo thing, and it prints out on it, and they for some reason printed out 2 copies, and they grab one and they put it in their little file. And I am walking out, you know, once again that horrible like shuffle because of the bracelets, and I want to just grab it. I just want to grab the picture of me, you know, holding up the card, not really holding it up like it was standing there, but I didn't, because I was a coward, and I was in a police station, and I was just like, don't steal something while you're in a police station. That would be stupid. But anyway, the only other people who were there was an irate African man who had been arrested because his driver's license was taken away, and then other guy who had been found with marijuana, which is very dangerous drug. So thankfully he had been arrested, and he was there, and we were commiserating about how like the law is inconvenient for us, and me being a white person and he being a black person, and the differences in how it's observed relative to our races. And, you know, that was an enlightening conversation. And when I left, he was taking a second phone call, because he'd negotiated a second phone call. And it took me like 8-9 hours, but I was finally out. And as I was walking out, I had to, while I was there, I had to, so I went, fist up in the air to him, and he returned it from the phone. He was like, "Oh," and it was dramatic, wonderful. So I walk out, and it's dusk, twilight. It's a romantic kind of hour, and there's no one out there. It's an empty parking lot. There are no cars on the highway, and I'm standing there holding my shoelaces, nothing else, and I'm sitting on the grass wondering where my dad is, putting these laces back in my shoes. God, I'm long-winded. It's like 10.5-minute video already. God, I'm all right. So I'm sitting there wondering, and the only thing that occurs to me right then is, I wonder how many other people have done this, like walked out of this lockup and just sat there alone, lacing up their shoes. So I see my dad like crossing the car across the horizon, and I know it's him because it's this big white car, and like he's the only person I know who likes white vehicles, and he just coming down on the approach, swings up in front of me like maybe 10 feet away, and he like throws open the passenger door from across, like that urgency. I don't know what inspires that kind of urgency, but he opens it, and I can see him there, and he's holding this ice cream right in front of his face, and he's got it all over his nose and mouth. I don't know how or why. And he's like, "Are you all right? How long have you been out here?" And it was just too much for me. Apparently he'd been waiting like the whole time, and the one time he left to go get ice cream, his desperate craving for the delicious treat, too much for him to resist at that point. That was when I was released. So it was nice of him to be there, and I admire his faith and consistent, whatever. It was very nice of him. Anyway, back to this. My God, I have this notepad of things to say to you. This is a horribly long video already. If you think you'd... Detention, that's right. That was your next subject. I only got detention once. I was the image of a perfect student, except that I was never in class. My last year, I was late or absent from more than 60% of the classes, pretty much. In my senior year, I slept a lot of the time I was there. It was a horrible time for me. Not that I was unhappy. I was actually happiest in my senior year. It was just, I was trying to learn how to skirt the system. And one of my favorite ways of doing this, which I learned from a friend when I was there, was to go miss your first period and go get a dozen donuts. And a dozen donuts is surprisingly cheap. It's like $6. And you get that, bring it into your second period class for the teacher and the students, and they don't ask for a late pass, or they don't want to. It's been pretty nice. It's kind of bribing. I guess I came up in a very nice neighborhood, but yeah, it was pretty easy to get through these things and just lay down and sleep in class all the time. Let's see, checking my notes here, which is kind of ridiculous. And also, how can you say you're not rebellious? Because getting kicked out of detention is the definition of rebellious. I don't know what you were doing, but you were just an angry little thing. Or that's what I get, this impression I get of you. You have this exterior which is just perfectly composed, hands neatly folded on your lap, but then like inside I'm imagining like these horrible violent pictures and images, as you get revenge on those who've crossed you. Or at least that maybe I see that seething fury underneath you for no good reason, but I see it. And it's not a bad thing. That's not an insult. I'm not trying to say something mean here. And school uniforms, is that common in your area? Because that is unknown here. I mean, if school uniforms, that's like a threat. That's what the Catholic schools use around here. And the fact that you would spray yourself to make it look like you were sweating after coming home, that's ingenious, I have to say. I love it. But let's see. That's right. I wrote down this little thing. Like, I don't really remember the context for it, but I wrote, "I like how your mind works," and a little smiley face. You probably said something about that, but yeah, I do. I do like how your mind works. I like how you express yourself, and I like the videos. So this is almost 15 minutes, which is the longest, and I'm sorry. But as you can tell, I'm hairier, and I've let myself go. So don't take it personally. It's just YouTube. But anyway, have a good night, and I look forward to your next video.